What's up everyone, Chris here. In today's tutorial we are going to set up the important data device for Project Nebula. I will show you how to prepare the Btrfs partition, create subvolumes we need, and organize the structure that will store all the important data for our services and system configuration. This is a critical step for the stability and reliability of the entire project. So let's jump right in. Okay guys, let's start with the tutorial. In order to follow this tutorial, you can go to the description and you will find the link to this website that is the guide. So the first thing we need to know is find out the information about our root partition and the mount point. So to do that, we will log in our server SSH Nube. That is the host name that we set previously, and I'm going to run this command, Ctrl+Shift+B. So it says Btrfs, but this information is not reflected in our fs tab because by default the fs tab works with ext4 file system, and we will change that. So we'll have to run this command, and our server's password. As you see, this is the default file, and we need to modify the writable root partition. So I'm gonna delete all this information, and I'm gonna put a comment here that this is the boot one, and I will edit the root one. So I'm gonna copy this, and what it says is take the device with the label writable mounted in root with a Btrfs file system, and with these options that are efficient for an SSD. And so it has a standard compression, not modify the access time of a file, make it this configuration efficient for an SSD, and the subvolume name by default in a Btrfs partition is this /. This is not the same root in the operating system, but just a name for the subvolume. So you're gonna leave it like that, and you don't want to perform any checks at boot time, so you have to leave it disabled with 00. You can do that with the system boot partition, but not with the root partition, because it's Btrfs don't work pretty well with these checks. So we're gonna save. So we're gonna type Ctrl+X, Y, enter. So we're gonna remount this partition, and we need to reload the daemon. So system control daemon reload, and we are good to go. So now we're going to organize the SDA3, which is going to be the most important partition of our server. We are going to organize this in different subvolumes, so you will have your information independent, and you can make independent snapshots of these services independently. So if in case something goes wrong with WireGuard, you don't miss any files with Nextcloud inside Nextcloud, because when you go back to a snapshot that you took previously, it will affect only WireGuard, the WireGuard subvolume. So that's a pretty good feature about Btrfs, that you can have as many subvolumes as you want, and you can add them later on if you need more subvolumes for more services. It's a pretty nice feature of Btrfs, so that's pretty good. So we will do we'll need the Btrfs package. I already have it. If you don't have it, you can install it with this command. Ctrl+Shift+B. I already have it installed. So if you don't, press Y and enter, and then just create this directory where we are going to mount our SDA3. Make sure you don't have it mounted already. So list block with file system, and now you can see it is not mounted here. dbt the SDA3 is not mounted, so we're gonna mount that. So we're gonna create this directory. I think I already have it created. Already have it. Yeah, I already have it. If you don't, just create this directory and mount your SDA into that directory. And let's check again. So now it is mounted. So okay guys, now that you mounted the device, the drive into this mn2 directory, we are going to create these subvolumes, and I'm gonna give you a brief explanation about why we need to use or create these subvolumes. The first one is it will be used to store the snapshots of our whole SDA3 device. The other one, config files, is going to be created to store all the important data, configuration data from the containers and from the operating system inside this subvolume. So just in case you need to make a fresh install of your operating system, all your configuration files will remain in the SDA3 drive that is going to be backed up later. In Nextcloud, to store all of our photos, videos, and personal files. WireGuard will be created to store the container configuration of WireGuard and maybe some personal configuration files of WireGuard. Pi-hole, we will use Pi-hole in order to create block ads in our main LAN. And Supabase is going to help me personally to store databases from my applications in my phone into my server. It's a backend as a service, and we will do that later on this tutorial. If you don't need one of these subvolumes, just delete that specific line and just create the ones that you need. In my case, I'm gonna create all of them. I already have them created, but you can create them with this command, Ctrl+Shift+B and enter. And I do have already them in my system. So now you can check which subvolumes you have created in that directory that you mounted at your SDA3. So let's clear this one, Ctrl+Shift+B, and I have these subvolumes with its IDs. Each volume will have its own ID, and it will not be used after you delete it, because Btrfs won't reuse these IDs. So in case you install them again, delete them and create them again, then you will not have the same ID. So these are the subvolumes that I have. Now that we created successfully these subvolumes, we are going to unmount the partition of the whole device, because we need to mount each subvolume individually, and we cannot do that if the whole device is mounted. We need to do it separately. So in order to do that, you're going to create these directories. I already have them created. So I already have this, but you can create them with this command, and it's gonna be a subvolumes parent directory, and we will have some childs for each subvolume, which is snapshots, config files, nextcloud, WireGuard, Pi-hole, and Supabase. If you didn't create any of the one of these subvolumes, then you will have to delete that as well here, because there is no need to create a directory that you will not use. So these are the directories for my specific subvolumes. And you can create even more than this if you need them. And now we need to edit the FS tab in order to mount these subvolumes automatically at boot time, or when you restart your server, then the system will mount them automatically. So we're gonna to edit this file. So just be careful of adding this information to the one that you already have. So I already have some of them, so I'm gonna edit my FS tab and I will show you how it should look like. So you go with, first of all, you're gonna edit the FS tab with this command, and we're gonna edit it. And I already have some of them in this directory, but I'm going to delete them and recreate them. Okay, so you should have something like boot and root. That's what you should have, because we edited that before. One for boot and one for your operating system, which is root. And now we are going to add these ones to mount automatically. Control-Shift-B. And you should have one for boot, one line for boot, one for root, one for a snapshot, and one for the config files, one for each of your subvolumes. And what basically it is doing is it is going to mount from this device, which is SDA3 with the label MyDataDev. It will look for this device or drive, and inside this drive it's going to look for the subvolume with a name snapshots, config files, and all of your other subvolumes. And it is going to mount these subvolumes into these directories that we previously created inside MNC subvolumes in each of these directories. And with a Btrfs file system, and it's gonna have options defaults to write and read. It will not modify the access time of a file when we access it, so it will help the lifespan of our drive. And we're gonna have a standard compression. It will take just a little bit of CPU, but help your lifespan of your drive. And it will be optimized for an SSD. And make sure you don't have any checks at boot time, because Btrfs doesn't really work pretty well with these checks at the beginning. So just make sure you have no checks with 00 at the end. So we're gonna save this file, Control X, Y, enter. And we're gonna clear this console. Let's minimize this a little bit. Okay, and now we're gonna mount them. So I already had them mounted, but let's see. Mount all, and I have to reload. Okay, let's see. Clear and list blocks with file systems. Let's check this one. So now it is telling me that The drive alpha partition number 3, which is MyDataDev, has these subvolumes mounted into these directories. So in actually it doesn't say the specific information of each subvolume. If you want to do that, you will have to find the information of the mount point. So you have to go back here to this command and check it out. Let's check snapshots, which is this one. So the mount point is root, MNT, subvolumes, and snapshots. So it says this is the target in the operating system. So this source, our device A partition 3 subvolume snapshots, it's mounted in the OS in the root MNT subvolume snapshots, and the file system is Btrfs, and these are the options that are optimized for our SSD. So that's pretty much all we need to set up. Have in mind that before you even start creating your services, your Docker containers, make sure you have the necessary hardware to store 3 copies of your important data. 2 of them should be in different drives, in different devices, and 1 of them should be in a remote location. It could be your office, or if your main servers are in your office, have one at home or a friend's location. And so make sure to have all your important information backed up. We are going to do that, so make sure you have the necessary hardware to do that in the best way, because you don't want to lose important data. In the next steps, we are going to set up Nextcloud. With this configuration, we are going to use config file subvolume and the Nextcloud subvolume. So I hope you like this video. If you want to see the entire process of building this NAS with different services, make sure you see the playlist. It's called Nebula project. So I hope you liked. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.